Well, hello, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm very happy to have your husband Andrew with us today. I'm personally excited to be here today to do this testimonial interview with you because our journey. We started together. I think our first call was between you and I back in December, and then our
Yeah.
consultation that you and I did along with your husband was there. So I found it. I thought it would be valuable to have both of you here with us today, just because there are a lot of people that we come across who one spouse is dealing with anxiety or depression or any one of these assortments of mental health obstacles, and they tell us these things are having an effect on their ability to just be present in their relationships, in their marriage, at home, in their careers, but also because there's it's hard to understand how to best support a spouse when you or you may have not dealt with some of these issues before. So I think it's going to be extremely valuable to have both of you here today to provide both of your perspectives as to where you were, the changes that you've made, as well as what husbands or wives can do for their spouses who are dealing with some of these issues. What I'd like to do, and what I'd like to do to start is, I'd like to ask you, Nicole, to kind of describe, where you were before we were connected back in December. What was like, what was life like for you? What were you getting most consumed by? Where did you feel stuck, with your mental health? So I think that would be a good place for us to start.
All right. For a very long time, I was having really bad patterns of anxiety. Um, I wasn't leaving the house. I told myself that I couldn't leave the house. And if I had to leave the house, it would be panic attacks for days before I knew I had to leave. Just constant patterns of anxiety, just feeling like I couldn't breathe, like crying. And it made me really irritable towards my husband and my children because I felt like I wasn't good enough. Um, it it had me like just scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, just literally all day. I could be on my phone for like from the moment I woke up until the moment I went to sleep. And it was just completely unbelievably consuming. I missed so many family functions. Um, and in that, I told myself that that meant that I was a failure and that everyone hated me because that's something that I was supposed to do and somewhere I was supposed to be. And I just felt like a failure.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that I noticed going through, some of my notes from our calls, before we stepped on the call here, um, there were so many times where I saw your spirit come through. You have two children at the house, and one thing that has lived with me so much was how you described both of them. Your, one biological son, one bonus son, and that was something that stuck out to me from the moment that you and I first met over the phone. Was you just had this very beautiful spirit that was kind of um, captured by some of the things that you were getting stuck on that I knew could just break out and break through. But we see a lot of people who they know that they have this beautiful spirit within themselves, but just
Right.
over time it's been dwindled down, or being limited by a lot of these beliefs or certain patterns that they're experiencing. um, Andrew, a question for you. Hearing, Nicole say some of these things and where she was before, um, where were you at seeing Nicole dealing with this? How did it make you feel, hearing her, say some of these things about, where she was, or, what kind of an effect did it have on, did these obstacles that she was experiencing have on you and have on your relationship in the marriage?
It was tough because I didn't know how to be there for her. I would ask her, let's say, is there anything I can do? She said no, not at the moment. I just need to be alone. So I would give her space. I would spend time with the boys, and then it was just I'd check in every few minutes, every now and again, just see how she was doing. So I would just try to be a presence to her, saying that, as a feeling, be in and out of the room every now and again, show her that you're not alone, and, just reassure her that, it's like you're not a failure, and, it's like we love her, and, it's like we're always here for her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think your perspective on that too is very common among, the husbands that we speak with who, there's an agonizing pain that comes from seeing your spouse, the person that you love most, dealing with some of these things. And it's frustrating, especially as men, because we want to fix things. And when we can't, it's very, frustrating and confusing. And oftentimes, these challenges can become a source of conflict within a marriage or within a relationship, because it's also difficult to discuss, especially if one partner or one spouse hasn't dealt with these issues before. So, you jumping into this process, I know that you had tried a couple of things before, but what I'm curious is, how is this process different from what you had tried previously? And what were some of the things that you had tried before joining us?
I've been in counseling for a long time, and I've tried medication. And counseling I felt was really great, but it was only an hour once a week. And so for the rest of the week, I don't get anything. And medication kind of masks whatever is behind the feelings that I'm having. And so I can be happy, but those feelings are still there, like the thoughts, and it doesn't get to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how different was, a lot of people who are going to be watching this video are in that place where they're using, they're in therapy, they're in, trying medication, either, they've been on medication for some time or they're just starting medication. But how would you describe the difference between, the traditional approaches of mental health services to kind of our approach to addressing some of these things?
So I guess in traditional services, you talk about how you're feeling now. And when going through this program and with talking with you and talking with Ty, I realized who I was, what I was thinking, why I was thinking what I was thinking, where that came from. And then in turn was able to just change everything around and just have a completely different perspective about life in general.
You've definitely changed over the course of many months. I mean, you've grown in such, amazing ways. And, now that we've been, seeing you on our group coaching calls as well, you smile, like you have this huge smile on your face every single time, because you just wake up with such passion and excitement. Whereas, where you first were, when you and I first talked, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anxiety and some of the phobias that were kind of capturing you on a day-to-day basis. I think it would be interesting to, get your perspective, Andrew, on, what were some of the earliest changes that you started to notice in your wife as she was moving through the program and working with us in those early months of this year?
I've seen a great deal of change, especially in the beginning, because she's becoming more independent, more self-aware of everything that's been going on, more vocal, expressing some, of what's going on, but also she, has been able to, she's been getting out more, so, and, it's just like these past 2 weeks, from the beginning till now, she's been hanging out with our friends more and, spending a lot of time outside the house, which is phenomenal. And, it's just, it's wonderful to see.
Well, it's beautiful to see that in you, especially, as a husband, to see that in her. And, Nicole, you smiled there as he was saying those things, and I think you had a little laugh to yourself. What was
Yeah, because
going?
he said I'm more vocal, and I just thought that was.
What's the feeling that you're having right now, hearing him say those things?
It feels really good. It feels freeing, definitely.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest breakthroughs that you found for yourself moving through the course and working with us? Um, what were some of those changes that you've experienced over the last couple of months?
Realizing that life is worth living and that I deserve to experience that and that I can experience that.
Absolutely. What is life like now for you? Well, what does it feel like to wake up in the morning? What are you looking forward to most now?
Working, I love working. And now I'm going to look forward to helping other people. And I'm really excited about that because that's been such a huge passion of mine for as long as I can remember.
Hmm. Yeah, you were talking about turning what you were learning and the differences that you were seeing for yourself into a way that you could support other people. And that's one thing that we have found is, at the source of living a life of mental well-being is living in a life that serves others, and being other focused, in a way where most people come to us, whether they're dealing with depression or anxiety. They're very focused on some of the symptoms that they're experiencing, internally, or the ways that they're thinking about themselves. But over time, as we start to break down those patterns and we start to shift, your direction and perspective onto how do I serve other people? How do I get myself to contributing to the lives of others and focusing on growth? I think that was one thing that we quickly started to notice in yourself was that beautiful spirit that I saw a little glimpse of at the very beginning of you at this in this program, started to break through. And we noticed that because you were, how can I do this for other people? How
Right.
can I serve others? Andrew, hearing, your wife, share some of these changes that she's had for herself, and being really like, with Ty and I have a really good perspective as to the growth that she's made, but you're there with her every single day. You were there to watch her every step of the way, and through her entire progress. What are you most proud of her for?
I am very proud of her. Just one of the aspects is it's like she wakes up, you know she'll do some work, and then right off the bat she's like, all right, I'm gonna say I would hear your voice or Ty's voice in the morning or in the afternoon, and just go through a session with, and then she would come out of the room after a few minutes, big old smile on her face, which is wonderful to see. And it's that way almost every single day, and hearing you guys talk about it, and then with me and her, we've come a lot closer, and in a great aspect. And then it's with my medical issue with my heart and stuff like that. I've it's like she's actually, we've talked before, like last month or so, and it's like you need, she's like, you need to talk to your doctor because it's like I have um anxiety as well, and realizing that myself, with her help, which is great, so it's you seeing her take that step with me and that breakthrough, I know she's going to be able to do great helping others.
And we look forward to it. We look forward to, whoever may be watching this, your story. Perhaps will be someone that you're going to be supporting either through this story alone or through the work that you're going to be doing, moving forward. I think one thing to communicate is, the journey doesn't just end with you going through the completion of the course.
Right.
Implementation and mastery of the skills and the methods that have worked, time and time before for other people who have been dealing with these patterns, is not just a thing that ends after a certain period of time. It's
Right.
a lifelong process. So what are some, in what ways are you going to continue your growth and development of these skills for yourself so they're always on top of your mental health? And I know that you have children, of course. How do you plan to use some of the things that we've taught you as you parent them and raise them up?
I think definitely one of the things that was a huge help for me was the triad. Um, and so that's something that I can implement in my parenting with them. Um, and all of the activities, I took notes on every single video. And so I have all the activities written down, and the confidence that when I go back to those videos, they'll be there for me to do whenever I need. And that's like just huge for me.
Absolutely. Andrew, what can husbands do to best support their wives who, may be dealing with, some of the challenges that Nicole was dealing with? What did you learn as part of this process?
I've learned that it's to be there, not just physically, but as a presence, and to reassure your spouse that it's a whatever you're going through, it's if you need somebody, we're here, I'm here, and it's just that confidence, it's to show your spouse that it's I'm not alone, and that is a big step, from the beginning, of our relationship till now, and watching her grow in this mastery. And it's just, the reassurance that everything, that they're going through, so we go through as well with them, and that they're not alone. And, it's just that reassurance. That's basically it.
Hmm. Absolutely. I think that the valuable thing here, especially for husbands and wives who are going to be watching this video too, is not only the reassurance that you have learned in how to provide that to Nicole, but also the reassurance that you're providing those married couples too. Because
Mhm.
there are a lot of spouses and husbands especially who, are going to be watching this video from, kind of your position, where you were many months ago of, I love my wife, but I don't know how best to support her.
Right.
And we often see that to become a source of disconnect or unresolved conflict within a relationship. And so you to provide your perspective is going to be very valuable to them, because you are reassuring them that there is help, not only for the spouse who's going through some of these issues, but also for you and how to know how to best support them and to see improvements within the relationship and within their mental health. So I do appreciate you being here to provide, your testimony, as well as, from your perspective, that help is out there, not just for the spouse who's dealing with these issues, but the supportive spouse in that role.
Of course.
My last question for you, Nicole, a lot of folks who are going to be watching this video, are going to be in the position that you were in back in December. And, I myself, as a former client of Ty, when I watch these videos, a lot of people who are in those positions are, in a space of thinking, yes, there are people out there who have, found some kind of magic breakthrough or, were able to get through some of these issues, but it's not going to be me. This is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. I've tried a couple of different things. I've dealt with these issues for some period of time. For someone in the position that you were in back in December, who is struggling with anxiety, agoraphobia, different, an assortment of issues, what are some things that they should know or that they should start to do, that can start to break down the belief that they can't change and will allow them to get to where you are today? What would be your message for them?
I think the biggest thing is to just keep going. Don't stop. And I have a friend that says, you just got to believe. If you believe that you can, you will.
Yes, yes. Nothing changes unless you believe it can. And so through your story, I know that there are going to be many people who connect with where you were and will where you are now, especially both you and Andrew. And it's through your story and your success because you were one of those people who believed that it could, that you could change and that you committed to the work. You committed to being open and coachable and doing different things for yourself and, for your mental health, that you are now in the space that you are today. And, the progress doesn't stop here. You're
Right.
now going to be joining us in our leadership program and supporting others who will, be watching this video today. So Nicole may be the person that you begin your work with as well as a mentor. But there's continuous growth. It doesn't just stop from here. So I just want to honor you for the work that you had done. Like I
Thank
said
you.
at the beginning of this call, we started together. I first met her back in December 6 months ago, and in 6 months, she went from where she was to where she is now. And I think one of the most beautiful things that folks will get from watching this video is the cadence between you two discussing the progress that you made and feeding each other's smiles as you discuss the progress that both of you make. So I think it's very sweet, and it's been beautiful to have you both here to describe the progress that you have made. So
Thank
um,
you.
it's been a blessing to get to know you and to be a small little part of the progress that you have made. So I wanted to recognize and honor you, the progress that you made, the success that both of you have found. And I'm excited to see the changes in others that will be made by watching your story today. So thank you again thank you both for being here, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.